Hello, hello, hello. It is Sunday, the 17th of January, and I am live on YouTube. There's not going to be many people watching right now because I didn't actually let anyone know about it. But I thought I'd get on live on YouTube, which is youtube.com/Joseph Clough. And yeah, I thought I'd just jump on live. I want to get back more into doing the lives. And then I might be putting this on the podcast or future ones in the podcast, but we'll go ahead and see. Now, how I'd like to be able to set this up. Like I said, I know there was literally no notice. But if you are listening or watching live, if you have a question, I'm here for you. I'll try to answer it fully, completely, to give you the edge that you desire. But I also have some other things that I'd like to say, and this could be the podcast episode of 498. We'll see how we go. It depends how I feel when I get to the recording of this. Not that I really do any editing anyway, but if you do have any questions, if you want my advice on things, go ahead and put it in the live chat. And if you're listening to this on the replay, on the podcast, on the app, and if you don't know, I have a free hypnosis app. You can download it on the Android or also on the Apple Store as well. But I have some things I'd like to be speaking to you today, and is what I was talking about with my group. You see, in my paid program, we always do group coaching calls. It is so important to be able to feel connected, validated, and a part of a movement. We all do that. I almost feel like biologically we're a part of that tribalism, that we want to be connected to something more than just ourselves. And I was doing these group calls, which I do frequently. I was talking about a subject of regulating your state of mind. You see, your unconscious is running the issue. Okay, whatever issue that you're experiencing, worry, fear, anxiety, the inner critic, self-sabotage, fears, phobias, worries, doubts, whatever it is, the imposter syndrome, your unconscious mind is running that issue. And it makes a simple mistake. But the simple mistakes can create huge issues, which become the issues that we experience right now. So since it really does everything, and it absolutely in every way assumes responsibility for the issue that you're experiencing, because if you could let it go, you would let go of your issue. You just simply let it go. But if you cannot, it must mean your unconscious mind is running the experience, the habit, the routine, the neuro associations, the beliefs, the values, the limiting decisions, the associations to the memories of the origin of the issue. All of those things, it will be running. And we got to think about it in such a way that usually we can hate the issue that we have. Why? Because it's painful. We don't like pain. We don't like our issue. But we've got to really shift our perception on that. Your unconscious mind is running everything, and it thinks it's in control to try to protect you. That's all it's doing. Your mind and body, your unconscious mind is running the issues that you experience for the powerful, positive intention of safety and protection. That's all it's doing. It's trying to protect you. But you have to realize you are not simply the passenger on your journey. You shouldn't be the passive passenger of your mind. We have to retrain the unconscious mind and get us back firmly in the driving seat. Now you may be asking, well, how do I do that? Well, there's going to be lots of different ways that we can do that. One of the ways is engaging in our imagination. You see, when you begin to hallucinate what do you desire, when you begin to consider, okay, I don't know how to change, but this is what I want, and we start to hallucinate it in our mind, our unconscious mind will start to be retrained, it'll start to look for an alternative perception. Your unconscious mind, and you consciously even, whatever you perceive to be true is true for you. It's just your holographic perception of truth. It's not necessarily the real truth, but it is your present truth. And we've got to engage into a greater truth by taking responsibility and going, look, I'm no longer going to be the passenger of my life. I'm no longer going to be what would I call it? The experience or the reaction of our life, or just a product of life's experience. No, I want to be able to make life a product of what I choose to create. I'm not going to be the passenger. I'm going to be firmly in control. And that's where you have to decide. You have to decide on something new. Despite having experienced all that you've experienced this day, and you've probably gone through horrible things, because those horrible events, or what I would call significant emotional events, creates the issue. But it doesn't have to define who you are. It's just where you've been, and it doesn't have to be where you're heading. So really decide every single day that I'm going to be different today. Ask different questions. Rather, why am I like I am? Ask, how can I be different today? Or how would I like to be today? And engage in your imagination. Because your unconscious mind does not know really the difference between what is imagined and what is real. Because your perception is running the experience. And you delete, distort, and generalize so much information that you don't see the objective truth. You see the subjective truth of your present experience. So, let's pause. Let's decide that I'm no longer going to be a product of my past experience. I'm no longer going to allow those past events or people or situations to direct myself to where I don't want to be anymore. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to take a stand. I'm going to make a change. One of the ways is engaging that imagination and considering how you're going to wake up every single day. If you just simply get out of bed and engage in the world, look at the news, get on Facebook, get on YouTube, before you know it, you've just lost yourself in the current events. Now, those current events are valid, but they're not always totally important to you. You must engage in what you want first out of your day. When I get people into my program, I personally create custom hypnosis sessions for them. At present, that's going to go away, but at present, that's what I do. One of the tracks I create is a Create Your Day, where ultimately I take all that you desire, put it in a track, and then get your unconscious mind to act the way that you want to be throughout the day. Now, of course, that's the quicker shortcut, but that doesn't mean that you need it. Yeah, I would love you to be in a program, be a part of our team, but it's not necessary or absolute 100%. But you have to at least engage in what you do want and why it's important to be that way. You see, if I had no help at all, with the knowledge and experience that I have, I would simply spend the first 10 minutes by myself every single morning and make a plan. Hallucinate, feel, hear. All exactly what you want for your day. Almost as if you're watching yourself. And there's a reason why you should be watching yourself while you do this. The confusion is that many people just like look through their own eyes as they go through the experience, where it's actually better to be dissociated. See yourself going through all the different situations, what's coming up in your day, or how you'd like to be. As you do that, you are pre-teaching the unconscious mind. You're teaching it, this is how I want to be. This is how I want to feel. This is how I'm going to act. And this is what I'm going to achieve today. When you engage in that and you feel as much as possible, you like really radiate it through the being of you by deciding and declaring that this is what's going to happen, you're starting to get back into the driving seat and rather being a passenger. Your unconscious mind thinks it's in control because it's been doing it for so long when it comes to the issue that you may be experiencing. However, You have to take back that power, assume responsibility, and dedicate your experience, your time in creating what you want, even if you do not believe it is going to happen. Many people won't believe it. Why? Because they've been programmed. You've been programmed by culture, society, through life experience, mainly that one in terms of significant emotional events. We've been programmed to have these limiting thoughts and beliefs and decisions, and that's your makeup of the world. That's your model of the world. But you have to decide and create something new. It starts with you, and I always say that's good and great news, because that means only you can make the change. Yeah, you can get outside help, but it all starts with you. It doesn't start when if the sun's going to come out today, or if it's going to rain today, or if the economy is going to be different today. It doesn't matter about any of that stuff. It's all on you, and that's why it's good news. And realize this. Realize that the issue that you experience has many, many symptoms. Many, many symptoms. Those symptoms, and look, first of all, disclaimer, I'm not a doctor in any way, shape, or form. This is just my personal experience after the last 18 years of doing what I've been doing, and actually having worked with doctors and things like that in the past as well, in many different fields. But the symptoms that you feel right now, the worries, the doubts, the stress, the physical issues that you may experience, migraines or panic attacks, all those things. Every single one of those are symptoms. But if we just keep the S from the word symptoms and we change it into signals, your unconscious mind is giving you these symptoms because it's trying to signal to you that something's not right. So a fear or phobia is saying, look, this thing, I'm fearful of it. It's a signal that it's fearful. Your unconscious mind is telling you that it's fearful. Anxiety, worries, physical ailments sometimes, or a lot of the times. When you think about it, an ailment, a conflict, a dis-ease of the body is telling you that something is wrong within you, that something's not working to a whole level, in wholeness, in other words. So in order to make that change, and you start to create it in your mind, but you also must listen to your mind and body. Listen to the unconscious mind. What's it trying to communicate to you? What does it need? We never really think about it that way. We are always in this reactive state on the effect side of the cause and effect equation. That is where we just feel, and we are just a product of the feelings that are given to us even. But we got to switch it over. We got to really listen. We've got to listen to our mind and body. What's it trying to communicate? Really ask yourself that question right now. What's it trying to say to you? What's it trying to get you to address? Because when you do that, things change on a couple of levels. The first level is, one, you're paying attention. That is a total shift to your unconscious mind. A total shift, because usually it's been shouting and shouting and shouting, and we've just been reacting as an effect. But if we really see clearly about this and go, look, this is a symptom. What is it all about? What's it trying to tell me? What does my unconscious mind need? We've now bridged the gap of rapport. We're getting in touch with our neurology. We're getting in touch with our unconscious mind. That opens up a communication channel. And that means, as I said, we're becoming in rapport with our unconscious mind. So that's on the first level. But the other level is this. Once you start to pay attention to the signals, it's going to start to respond differently as well. Because you can begin to explain to your unconscious mind there's another way of being happy. There's another way of acting. There's another way of being which is more effective and more safe to live in this world. You got to think about it like that. We went into a real big, powerful process on my group coaching call, which happened yesterday. But we've got to get our unconscious mind. Oh, actually, let me backtrack for a second. When the issue was created, when this started to happen, think of what age you may have been. Just consider that. What was the age? And you might not know I was specifically in 1983 in January on the 1st at 3 p.m. in the classroom. There's when it happened. But just roughly, when did it begin to come into fruition? For most people, I would say, based on my experience, it's in the first 7 years. In sociology, they call that the imprint age. The first 7 years, we're just really like a sponge. We're absorbing everything. We're just reacting to everything. We're taking on everything as almost truth. And if we're under significant emotional pain or emotion, of course, we're going to decide with all the knowledge that we had as a 7-year-old. And sociology for the next 7 years is our modeling era. That's when we're modeling people now. We're starting to kind of figure out what we want, who we like, who we want to be like. And then beyond that, we start to get into the socialization period, and then we become an adult around 21, supposedly, and hopefully. But more often than not, between the 0 and 7 years old, that is when the issue can usually happen. Be created. Yes, it can happen later in life. We can create limiting beliefs later on in life. For example, it could be yesterday when something happened to me and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm not good enough. Or, oh my goodness, I don't like going into interviews because I had a bad experience in an interview. But more often than not, it is in the first 7 years when it comes to our identity. And you'll know that's true when you start to say things like, I'm not enough, or I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving, I'm not capable, I can't do this. The I sentences, the identity aspects of us. But yes, it can happen later on in life, but usually that's when it happens. Now, if you reflect upon that when maybe the origin of what you perceive anyway, because the chances are you won't even know it, because I don't know, your unconscious mind usually is a little bit further back in time than you would expect. Sorry, than you would expect. But let's just say, for you it was say 5 years old, or fill in the blank. How much knowledge and information, wisdom, logic did you have at that age? I'm going to guess, unless you were super, super, super smart at that age, you probably didn't know all the ins and outs of the world like you may do now. You didn't have a life experience. So in that moment between 0 and 7, you just decided or reacted or just assumed for the best of intention of something like protection and safety. So now we're starting to change the perception of our issue, and we've got to get into the mindset of, well, what did I need back then? What did I need back then that if I had, would have changed the course of direction of my life? What would it have been? Would it be a belief, a feeling of being loved, supported, to be seen, to be heard, to be felt? Whatever it is for you, you've got to think about, well, what beliefs did I need to have back then? What wisdom would I want to be imparted upon me that I really needed back then? What kind of feelings did I need? What kind of actions and behaviors? Who do I need in my life back then? Once you discover that, your job is to be the person you needed. I'll say it again. Your job is to be the person you needed to when you were back in that past experience. You need to speak to your unconscious mind and be that person for it. Because then you're the educator. Then you are the leader. And therefore, you will not be the passenger of your experience, and you'll be the driver of your experience, the driver of your life. The other thing I want to quickly talk about is, look, we talked about a few things. Engaging in your imagination, thinking that your unconscious mind thinks is in control of everything. But then we've got to engage our imagination, creating our day as much as possible before we fall into the madness of the world. I heard an analogy. It's almost like getting out of bed and suddenly just jumping onto a merry-go-round at like a 50 mile an hour. We can't do that. You do not want to be on your phone within the first 30 minutes to an hour, if possible. Absolutely no Facebook. Or, I'm not going to be discriminating just for Facebook, social media. Because you're putting your mind in other people's business, and you need to put your mind in your own business first to be able to then create your state of mind to then enter that merry-go-round of the world that is spinning around before us. So really pay attention to that. And to be honest, what I've decided, and if you followed my page on Facebook, you probably didn't even see it because of, you know, the algorithms and so on, but 99.9% of me, I've decided that I will not be posting on any social media platforms, personally and even publicly, business-wise, in other words, for the long term, maybe forever. One, because it's not, honestly, my values are that it doesn't support my values of emotional health, so I don't want to be there or promote it. I don't want to be a part of it. Oh, but Joseph, you're on YouTube. Well, okay. The things that I'm really good at, I like to think I'm good at, is spoken word, video. I know I'm on video, by the way, right now. It's a Sunday evening. I'm just relaxing right here. But YouTube, the podcast, the app, and maybe LinkedIn. I've not really delved into LinkedIn, but maybe put my media on that. Because I just feel like we just are consumed with this digital virtual world, and we're lacking of the personal connection that we had before we had it. When we actually picked up the phone and spoke to someone, rather just being the passenger, the passive passenger of just watching someone's status or video or picture. Now, okay, let me freeze right here. It's a little bit of a rant. There's just my personal experience. So I'm going to stop right there. But that's just a decision that I've made. But either way, even if you want to be a part of the social media aspect, and I totally understand, like, I'm in America, my family is in England. I got 2 nieces, 1 nephew, 2 brothers, mum, dad, granddad, and all things like that who I don't get to see. And I can see how social media can bridge that gap. Personally, I've been trying to just get on the phone, get on Skype, get on all these different kind of things to be able to really connect with them. But understand it has its role. But don't engage in it with it when you wake up. Your brain has not been designed to be able to take in all that information. We've accelerated technology very, very quickly over the last, 20, 30 years? When I was a kid, when the internet was coming out, I don't know, 13, 14 years old or something like that. Maybe later, 14, 15. But when it came out, it was very, very new. And look how far we've come. Look, I'm doing this live, reaching hopefully a few people. So technology is gone, but our brain is still adapting. And being engaged totally to our phones or our devices that early in the morning is not going to be the best value for you. I promise you that. Try it out. Try even just disengaging with social media for as long as you can, and notice how you feel on a productivity level. I'm a very focused person. I just love focusing on 1 or 2 things, and that's what I'm getting back to. But the lesson here is try not to engage into technology that quickly unless the technology is actually supporting your growth. Maybe it's a podcast, maybe it's a book or Kindle, or because I said technology, whatever. It could be music, it could be video, something to like really get you into a great state. But absolutely do that, but regulates your state. And that's where I was really heading into, is once we've listened to the mind and body. We've listened to what our unconscious mind is trying to signal to us. We've got to be the example to the unconscious mind. Therefore, we are now the driver rather than a passenger. The other quick way of changing your state of mind is by changing your state of body. How do you do that? Let me ask you a question. Take a freeze frame of how your body is right now. Just notice your posture, in other words. Now, whatever it is, you probably moved it by now. Maybe caught yourself going, oh, that wasn't a good posture. But now go ahead and just pin your shoulders back. Imagine you have, like the Superman cape or a superhero cape, whatever superhero has a cape. Imagine that on the back of you. Notice how your physiology changes. And then you start to breathe a little bit better. And as you get into that state, your mind will change too. So one of the quickest ways to change is to change your physical state. And the good news about that is one thing you can do. You might not be able to change the limiting beliefs or the worries, the anxieties, just like that through your mind. But you can change your physical state. So if we just change our posture and keep note of our posture throughout the day, you're going to start to engage a different reality because you're engaging different chemicals in your body simply by adjusting and modifying your physiology. You see, the mind affects the body, but the body affects the mind. So if we can't always change the mind the way that we like, we've got to change the body. If you can go into, the oh my goodness, I forgot his name now, the Wim Hof method. He's been out for a long time. I remember watching his Vice documentary years and years ago. But his whole mindset is breath. Just breathing in and out, letting it all out. Breathe it in and just like really getting into that flow state and then holding your breath and then utilizing all the oxygen. You can research more there. I'm going to just kind of butcher it otherwise. But part of my morning strategy is breath work because I want to be able to oxygenate myself and it gives me more life. I'm breathing differently rather than just from the chest. Think of this. Where is fear and anxiety most likely to be held even in the body? Is it in the chest or is it in the belly? It's going to be in the chest. Because when people breathe fast, let's say anxious or fearful, they breathe faster and it's higher. Now, if you think of meditative states, it's more belly breathing. So once you start to engage your breath, you're going to start to change what? Your fear, your worry, your anxieties, just by breathing into a different part of your body. And therefore, it has an effect on how your neurology works, how you feel. So there are things that you can do to change the way that your mind works by accessing the body very, very quickly. Now, of course, running, exercise, beautiful, wonderful. It is, to me, personally, the natural prescription to happiness. Just physical engagement is such a powerful way of changing your state. Not only obviously you get more vitality and health, but your psychological state will change as well. Even if you hate it at first, it's okay, it happens. When I started running years ago now, but I couldn't run half a mile before I just feel like I had to pass out. But I dedicated myself to it. I was like, I'm going to get this done. I pushed myself so hard. And by the end of like the 6th to 7th week of running, I ran 30 miles, 32 miles, in fact, in one day. There was some stopping, but in one continuous day, or one continuous amount of time within a day, because it had just felt good once I got into it. I just thrived off the challenge and I learned. Here's another thing I want you to get, that once you start to engage in your mind and body this way, and you start to communicate it differently, you start to see problems as challenges. So you see, a challenge is a challenge to grow you, to expand you, to be able to gain more insight. A problem is something that is usually something that we freeze at or fly from or flight from. But when we see it as a challenge, you get curious. When you get curious, you get your brain to think differently. You're looking for solutions rather than the problem. So I hope you have enjoyed this. I'm going to see how long I've been going on for. 40 minutes. We had a 10-minute introduction anyway, so 30 minutes. But I hope you enjoyed this. Now, if you did and you want me to go ahead and get on live more often, go ahead and just, if you're on YouTube, of course, just hit the subscribe, hit the like, hit the bell, and that way you'll get notified when I do get here on live. And also, if you are interested in being a part of our program, and it is an investment, significant, because it's very custom and very, very one-to-one and group and powerful programs. You can go to josephclough.info/go. So that's josephclough.info/go. It is an application process. We have to, as a team, we got to speak to you to make sure you're a good fit, because we only want 100% success, and so we do that for that reason. And it just means that we can support you. But like I said, it's not for everyone. In fact, we only choose to enroll people at probably a 1 to 4, 1 to 5 level at the moment, because we want to keep it very tight, get the results that you deserve and desire. But you got to go all in on it, time in every single way to make that change. So with that, my wonderful friends, I'll leave this to you. Oh, it's got a comment here. So this is from Virginia. Great to have you, my friend. You said, love all information, advices, love your voice, keep it up. Well, thank you ever so much. I really appreciate you, my friend, and I wish you the very, very best. You are going to be a shining star by just deciding that you're worth it, that you're ready to change, you're ready to grow, and to be the person you wish to be. So thank you ever so much. I really, really appreciate your support. And once again, for everyone who's going to listen to this on the replay, if you want to get notified, go to youtube.com/josephclough. And that way, when I get more onto these, be on video more as well, I'll be able to answer all your questions and give you some more live advice. So with that, I will speak to you soon. Many thanks and goodbye.